Hello and welcome A-League fans to another episode of the A-League Download presented by Isuzu Ute. We are back after the international break. A great game out at Adelaide as they put 4 past the reigning champions. Joe Lolley continues to light up the league as we saw in the Big Blue. And another coach from Australia is succeeding again overseas for the second time in a row. We have a full-on packed show for you. No timer this week as well. We have heard you all out listening across the show for the first few weeks. I tell you what, you must be happy because no timer, which means we're going to be landing a lot more in the topics. I am your host, Jake Barker-Daish, and as always, joined by Thomas Sorensen, Danish goalkeeping legend, and a big A-League download welcome to former Melbourne Victory champion, Rashid Mahazi.
Thank you, and thank you for erasing the timer.
Appreciate
that.
Substitution's been made, great.
Yeah. Well, it's just you come in, the timer goes, mate. So there's a bit of a trend there. So
it was for me, yeah. Stuff.
Yeah. Well, we are going to be kicking off with some routine trends here. The bangers of the round. I tell you what, there were some great goals this week. Rashid, none better than Takeshi Kanamori here out at Adelaide. What a goal this was.
Yes. I don't want to put a lull on it too much, but I'm not too convinced of him just yet. It's an amazing goal, to be honest. It's an amazing strike. He hits it perfectly clean. I don't think there's really a chance for that keeper to get that straight into the top corner. It's a great goal. But what I'd like to see from him is 3 or 4 or 5 more of goals like this and some more impact in games.
You want 3 or 4 or 5 more?
No,
40 yards facing away from goal with his left leg.
Because I said to Thomas earlier, he said, I've never done it before, but I think any player can do that by accident as a once-off. So I'd like to see some more impact.
Yeah, okay. But I think he is turning a corner slightly. I thought it was improvement in the derby. I think he's slowly getting used to it, but I agree. He's brought in as a he's a visa player. He needs to be a leader for these young players.
And you're right in to mention he is replacing Marco Tilio to an extent, right? Who obviously was a big goal and assist getter for Melbourne City. Thomas Sorensen, there's a few to talk about, but Lockie Brooks' free kick out at Auckland against Brisbane Roar. This was a belter of a goal. Questionable goalkeeping maybe, but you can't take anything away from Lockie Brook here.
No, take nothing away from the strike. But yeah, as a goalkeeper, you got to look at Dean Basanis because I think he actually gets... he moves early, he sees the ball, but he doesn't get any sort of step in. He doesn't transfer any power. And for me, you've got to be able to get a little bit of a spring in there. And if he uses his top hand, he should save that. And I think he'll be disappointed. But again, take nothing away from the strike.
Hey, you did call on the last download episode that Brisbane might get a draw out at Auckland, so...
Yeah, no, that's an amazing call, by the way. I would never have picked that.
Well, they're top 5 now. They're starting
I think they had the grit, and I think they're showing it. And again, they had the chances as well. So great bit of great weekend for them.
Well, Thomas talks about grit. We like to talk about gritties here on the A-League Download because Harrison Sawyer, was he dancing or was he wiping his butt out at the game here at the K Team? Let's have a look at his goal. But the celebration, Rashid, we need to update Thomas here on what the gritty actually is.
Please do.
Yeah, so in the back, we were trying to explain to him about these cultural movements of dancers on TikTok. This is not one of them. The arse wipe is not one of them. Yeah, that's what my dog does when he's got worms. So is he saying I'm wiping my ass on this pitch? Is that, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
A fantastic celebration.
Yeah, I assume you haven't seen much of a gritty going around.
You know what? I don't live my life on TikTok, so you know what? But good on him. He's bringing a bit of colour to the game.
I'm happy he's doing well, man. He's an NPL player going to the A-League. Like myself, like I did, I love when I see players do well.
And he also didn't have the best start to his A-League career. And when I say that, he just couldn't get off the mark. He was playing well, but struggled to break that drought. Now he's their go-to guy and scoring a lot of goals, which is very impressive.
To see it.
Sydney FC, what a dominant run they are starting to have in the A-League. They're starting to really be the benchmark of the competition. We talk about Melbourne City in that light through the early weeks and throughout last season. But Sydney FC is starting to really, really find their feet in the competition. Joe Lolley is a player of notice as well. Let's have a look at his first goal here, Thomas, because he's been on fire this whole season.
Yeah, and this is classic Joe Lolley. He drifts in from the right-hand side, and he finds that bit of space, and Davison he sees it's too late, and then he's got that technique from the edge of the box, and he's definitely one of the best players in the league at the moment. He's got 9 goals, I think, on average over the last 3 seasons. He's already on 4 out of 5 this year. You know what? He's so important for Sydney, and it's a joy to watch him.
Just speaking on him as well, Thomas, we spoke earlier about maybe now he's being more kept on the right, where Douglas Costa was playing there a little bit through last season. Do you think that's helping Lolley be more pivotal to their gameplay?
Yeah, and I think this game shows it, this goal shows it, that him drifting in from that right-hand side, he's more dangerous. You know, he can so easily get onto that great left foot. And again, it's benefiting. Probably when you got Douglas Costa there, you maybe have to trade off a little bit. But I think he's come into his own and he's showing, you know, what an important player.
Rashid, we'll get to your Melbourne victory soon, but just your take on Sydney at the start of this season.
I think, I've been very impressed with them. And Joe, just back to Joe Lolley, like that first half, I was thinking not much is really happening, but he was still, every time he got the ball, he looked dangerous.
Yeah.
And I think that's when you can tell a player is a significant level above. And also, probably the main man for the club now is when the club is not necessarily, or the team's not necessarily providing much, but then every single time they get the ball, they're creating something or making themselves look dangerous, I think.
And just to add a bit more height to it, obviously what Sydney FC are doing, they have 15 players under the age of 21 on senior contracts as well. Their starting 11 not necessarily reflecting that, although they do have Paul Ocon and Reece Yuli of young talent in the starting 11, but they do have a very young team and young in depth. Piero Quispe, he's a tongue twister to say, but geez, what a player he is. We spoke about him before the start of the year as one to watch. His low centre of gravity, his creativity, he's a player that's of notice as well for Sydney FC.
Yeah, he's a great player. Obviously, Paul Ocon Jr., Alessandro Toure, there's a few of them in there that are doing really well. I think they've got the balance right as well. They've got Tisserand at the back, which I'm starting to be really impressed by. And I don't know if you guys noticed in the first half, there was a few times where some of the younger players made some mistakes and he was hammering them, telling them to switch on, raise their level, and that's kind of what you need. You need that balance when you've got the young players.
Yeah, and you talk about that spine. You know, even I think Dylan Pierias is playing well in goal. You know, you've got Alice Grant as well, who got a goal in this one. So I think all the way up with Ocon, and they're finding that spine that is, you know, then you just need the Lollies to come up with those moments of a bit of a spark, and you win games. And
defensively, they're doing very well, and they're conceding 3 goals so far in the A-League. Let's go to some iconic moments, though, because Joe Lolley, he created a couple over the weekend. We went through and had to think of some of our own from the Big Blue specifically, iconic across A-League history, and none better to start with one of our very own in Archie Thompson, making a mockery of the Sydney FC defence here in Season 1. Let's have a look at this. Rashid, I don't know if you've seen any worse defending, but this is your good friend Archie Thompson here, just having a dance and a laugh out at the old Olympic Park.
I was saying before, it looks like he's been curver training all week, just doing that drag back and the V-turn, and then he gets a toe poke.
Thomas, if you were the goalkeeper here, I mean, are you a little bit stumped with what to say to your defenders, or are you going absolutely off your trolley as well?
Of course you would be. You know, like, one thing is you get done by that drag once, but then you're like, surely, you've seen the playbook, and then he does it again. Fair play to Archie, you know, again, wiggle himself in that tight space, but oh my God.
How about the sideburns of Archie?
Well, bring them back, Archie. Well, that's what we're asking for on the download here. But Rashid, the next one, you actually played in this grand final in 2015. This was a very monumental moment and a seal here. Talk us through this.
I think for me, it's probably one of my favourite moments in football ever, to be honest. I had come on the park a few minutes before that. And you know what it's like if you're coming off the bench. Well, maybe you don't, Jake. Maybe you don't know, Tom, but anyone at home, maybe you know. You want to make an impact when you come on the field, and you want your team to have some kind of success when you're on the pitch. And so when we got this goal, it was like, I've got some involvement in this goal. And it solidified that we've won this game. You know, we've won the trophy.
And Lee Broxham, he didn't get many, but he got some that definitely counted. The next one here, this was a bit of a down moment for Melbourne Victory and a very big moment for Sydney FC. Away from home in a grand final. Thomas, Kevin Muscat here.
Yeah, we've got to give something to the Sydney fans, and you know, just this dink off the post, and then Clint Bolton's little shrug. Again, this is an iconic moment. Obviously, Kevin Muscat, everything he stood for, and how he represented victory. You know what a win for Sydney that night.
Can I ask you guys, is this the biggest game in the league? Contentious? Because obviously, you know, City derby, Melbourne derby. Is that the biggest game?
Come on, man. There's plenty. We've got so many.
For me, it is.
We've got a distant derby. We've got plenty of good derbies.
I think, the Melbourne derby at full pelt, but the Big Blue's always been there, even from Season 1. We're going to break into Melbourne Victory now, and we had a lot of debate before we even jumped on air about this club and where they're going at the moment. But we did want to just bring up Joe Lolley's second goal to highlight, one, what a brilliant individual goal it was. But also, if you look at it from the Melbourne Victory perspective, guys, there's a few issues here because this is obviously in transition. Joe Lolley picks this up in his own half, runs the whole way here. You've got Lockie Jackson picking up a runner. You've got Insera picking up a runner on the outside. We pause it here. Miranda, when does he need to come to the ball here, Thomas? What do you see?
You know, for me, and I think we're going to disagree on this, but I would like a defender who's got runners covered. It's different if there's a free runner, you have to delay. But at some point, he has to make a decision. And I just feel he's just retreating. If Lolley had kept running, he would be retreating into the net. and at some point, you've got to read the situation, potentially step forward, take a yellow card, just to break up play or at least get a foot in. And I think by him not doing anything, doesn't help the team, doesn't help his cause, and it makes it a lot easier for Lolley because he can get into a shooting position, and we know his strength. We've already talked about it.
Yeah, I'm just one. I think Miranda's got to go to the ball there and force a decision way earlier. Rashid, just on Melbourne Victory at the moment, they're sitting now at 10th, sliding down the ladder. They're struggling for goals. I mean, your overall perspective on them, maybe some things that they need to do in order to enhance their chances this season.
I think you guys have spoken about it a lot. They need a number 9. They need a main man, really. And I know obviously Juan Mata has the pedigree and all that, but they need a main man at this moment, a goal scorer that they can look to. And I think, to be honest, it's very worrying where they're at. I think sometimes it's not as bad as you think it is. So if they get that player in, maybe things turn around. But I think at this point, questions start needing to be asked, not just about the team on the park, but what's happening at that club in general. You know, what's going on with their recruitment?
Well, let's talk about the recruitment, right? And we've spoken about this, but they lost Jason Gary in mid-season last year. They lost Ryan Teague, who was arguably, a chance to win the Johnny Warren medal. Daniel Arzani and Zinedine Machash as well. Also, you throw in Bruno Fornaroli, for example. They probably haven't replaced them, Thomas, as much as you would like, but also you still haven't had Velupile and Dorigo at your disposal yet too. Yeah,
and I think they need Velupile to come in, not just provide a spark. He needs to bring in a firebomb or something. Something needs to happen. And this is my worrying part, and I agree with you, is that you're just lacking something. In the derby, when you thought they had Melbourne City on the back foot with everything, their travel to Japan, they were just sitting back and they lost an early goal. And even in this game, they played well in the first half against Sydney, but still, you're looking at these situations where they're just not coming up trump and they're not getting the goals from, what other teams are doing.
I think it comes down to one player. You need that one player. I don't know if any club, maybe in other countries, I've never seen an A-League club win the league without a main man. Besart Berisha did it for a while. Obviously there was a lot of good players around him, but he was that player that kids want photos with. That he's on all. He's doing all the signatures.
Are you talking like a marquee or like that sort of player that's
a personality and also a goal scorer? The all-in-one player of a number 9.
Velupile there, it's probably a big opportunity for him as well. He was in the Socceroos just before he had his injury. He's definitely going to be a chance for the World Cup. Should he get that time, Thomas, we were speaking about it. March is the next camp. So he's got plenty of time to allow that to prosper, I guess, for himself. But just their next 4 games, Brisbane away, Macarthur away, Adelaide at home, and then the Melbourne Derby. Yeah. Looking at them now, when is that next win going to come?
Yeah, and that's the problem when you're not riding high, is that suddenly easy wins become, difficult, and you look at the schedule and everything looks hard. I think we'll know a lot about them when they go to Brisbane, because I feel Melbourne Victory has to come out and make a statement. They have to come out, roll their sleeves up. I think Dealers even said it afterwards. Like they got to show something up in Brisbane that gives you confidence. And, the goal's got to come from somewhere. Hopefully Velupile looks like he might be back. It's a lot of pressure on him to come in after not playing, to suddenly step up. But again, Vergas, he has to step up. He's been brought in as a marquee player. So somebody's got to take that mantle and get the goals.
Well, the goals were coming from everywhere out at Cooper Stadium on Friday night as Adelaide dismantled reigning champions Melbourne City. We don't say that too often with Melbourne City, a team that's been so in form in the competition. But Adelaide were just on form. They were on song and they played a brilliant game. Aurelio Vidmar, he had some very harsh words to say about his side's performance. Let's have a look at this before we get Thomas Sorensen's opinion of the weekend.
We were poor. We were soft, and I haven't said that for a long time. Tonight's performance was atrocious. It's not what we stand for. Our behaviours weren't in the right spot tonight, and Adelaide thoroughly deserved it.
Thomas, we don't see Viddy go that hard on his team too often, but, do you think it was fair?
Yeah, he's spot on. And I think it's refreshing that somebody comes out and being honest, because they weren't at the races. You know, you look at the goals, individual mistakes, lack of effort, and it's not like Melbourne City, because they were totally the opposite against Victory in the derby. You know, I thought they were front foot, they put in the shift. So is it the international break? Is it players being away? Is it I think they had 3 or 4 days off. There's something that wasn't there, and they need to find that quickly. But, you know, these games can happen, but again, there has to be a reaction next week. Is
there room for concern yet with Melbourne City, just because they're in 2 competitions, just because of their injury list? Yeah. Is there a bigger story there, or is it just an off night that can happen? Yeah, it's an off night that can happen, and again, I'm sure, and everything will be done, and he said it as well, that he won't allow that to happen again. You know, he'll be in their faces this week. Young players can be indifferent. You know, hopefully they'll have Lecky back. But yeah, they do have Champions League this week, away game, Champions League. You know, so it's coming thick and fast, and they need to switch their minds back on. Yeah, well, we obviously have Rashid Mahazi on the couch. If you don't know, when he was playing in the A-League, by halfway through the season, he had the most yellow cards in the competition. This guy was coming off the bench and just hammering everybody in the league. So who better to talk through this red card decision on the weekend with Dylan Pierias? Rashid, I mean, this is contentious. This was a 3-minute VAR check as well. Let's have a look at it here. A straight red card to Dylan Pierias in the 36th minute, might I add. Yeah, for me, it's not a red card. It's very strange. I don't know why he's doing that. With his foot, he's like launching his foot up into sort of his private parts. But I don't think it's a red card. I think it's a yellow. There's nothing malicious about it. It's just sort of a... Thomas, you're in agreement? Yeah, totally. You know, I think, you know, we've all sort of, even as a keeper, you can sort of feel the players getting away. You're trying to stick your foot in there to try to trip him. And I think there's no kick out and there's no malicious action. You know, come on. Like, it is a contact sport. Like, just go on with it. Give him a yellow card and move on. It probably makes Aurelio Vidmar's words a little bit more reasonable when you think about Melbourne City playing against 10 men for majority of the game. 36 minutes was that red card given to Dylan Pierias, but also highlights Adelaide's performance. What performance they had playing with 10 men for majority of the game. Luka Jovanovic, Rashid, he's a player that's on song at the moment. 3 goals, 2 assists. He's lighting up the league. I mean, how impressed have you been with him in the initial weeks? Well, we were up there in Adelaide, and I've been very impressed with him. He's not just someone that scores. He works hard. He's lively. He can set up now. We've seen, you know, he's assisting as well. But the main thing that I saw from him was actually after his goal. It was probably 5 minutes after. He sort of got the ball around the middle of the park there, and he played like a little 1-2. He got a little nutmeg and then a back heel. Okay, he's got a bit of sauce as well. He's not just a goal scorer. He can play. He can do build up as well, and I think he's one to look for going forward. I don't think. I mean, there's discussions. Oh, is he ready for Socceroos and all that stuff? I'd like to think the position of a Socceroo call-up is a little bit more prestigious than a few good performances and goals. But definitely long term, if he keeps playing like that, he should get a go. And you don't necessarily see a 10-man team take on Melbourne City and beat them with the ball too often, too. No, but again, it comes back to desire, and I think Adelaide had it. They showed it all over the park, and I think, as you know, like you're saying with Jovanovic, I think he's progressing really nicely. I think last year, you know, he had his moments, but struggled sort of overall and couldn't quite. And I think this year you can see now he's starting to read the game. That goal he scores, a little bit like Lolley, he drifts in, he sees the space, and then he's got that short trigger. You know, he's got incredible power in his strike, and you know, you see a player that's ascending in the right direction, and that's what you want if you're Adelaide. And just to round out Adelaide, Rashid, we were obviously there, as we mentioned a few weeks ago. We were there the day before the game against Western Sydney, and we felt the energy and the atmosphere around the Adelaide training setup, particularly with Ayrton Andrioli. He was a coach juggling, having a laugh, pushing his players around. He was very much there to help his players kind of feel comfortable. But Giselle, a player that we've noticed as well in the early round, said that his whole perspective around football is just to let his players express themselves. Is that what we're seeing out at Adelaide, that energy with the young players? That's what it looks like. It looks like the young players are enjoying their football. Another one worth mentioning is Kikianis. I think he's flying under the radar as one of the best players in the league, and again, a future Socceroo. He's got both feet. He's calm. He's a leader.
So they've got a lot of good players. Obviously, Eligic as well. There's a lot of good young players coming through that team, and I think that coach is a good balance for them to help them enjoy their football while they're getting minutes into their legs.
Very well said. Well, the Ninja A-League, again, was giving some great moments from the weekend. I'll tell you what, we found one here. Melina Ayres with one of the bicycle kicks of the competition's history. But then the save by Sham Khamis here, Thomas Sorensen, incredible.
No, but again, this highlights just, what the women's game is becoming. This is athletic, great bit of goalkeeping. We talked about Bazanis earlier, not getting a step in. Khamis, great bit of top hand as well. So, this is, the best feeling as a goalkeeper, just to suck that hope out of the strikers. You think top hand, we saw Ronaldo score an incredible bicycle kick.
Sick individuals. Yeah.
There's nothing better, and fair play to her, what a save.
Yeah, and just a couple of interesting points here. Melina Ayres, as you saw doing the bicycle kick there, she's returned to the Jets this season after taking a year off. Now, if you know Melina Ayres, she's a serial winner. She's won three A-League titles in her career, 2 at Melbourne Victory and 1 at Melbourne City. It's also the Jets defeating Western Sydney in that picture to remain undefeated in the competition. It did make us think, though, because that would have been a highlight for Melina Ayres for the rest of her life. Goalkeepers do ruin a few moments from time to time, Thomas, and it made us think. I tell you what, you might have had a long list, which is why we cut the timer here, so you could talk to us about all the strikers' moments that you've ruined in your time.
I don't know if we've got time. There's strikers with nightmares all over the world. But no, it's a great thing. Again, we get criticised. Goalkeeping is always on the line. Either the hero and the villain. And when it goes your way, and it's not like I've never scored a goal in my life, but it's surely the same feeling that the emotion running through you. You've done something incredible, I can remember some moments. The FA Cup final against Balotelli, top corner. You know what? When I sort of had a roll and I stood up, I was like, okay, that's what.
Hey, Rashid, we did have a look at that shot before as well. I mean, you want to give an objective view because I think he's being very humble on that save. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, I forgot how good we did.
Well, I tell you what, that is brilliant. Well, we headed out to Auckland. They have been a talking point throughout the last 2 seasons across the A-League because of their tenure and their performance and their quality. And they have definitely added a physical side to their arsenal this year with Sam Cosgrove. Thomas, I guess you know England really well. I mean, the Premier League obviously is the top flight. It's still super physical. But if we head down to Championship and League One, it's known for his physicality as well. Sam Cosgrove, let's have a look at him just throwing his body around here on the weekend. This was actually a yellow card as well.
Yeah, no, it's borderline. Again, one thing is you being physical in one of 50-50s, but he's being a bit dirty and he's got to watch himself because there'll be spotlights on it here.
That's a second yellow almost, right?
I think he should have been sent off.
This is our producers found this as well, by the way. Our producers found that he should be sent off.
I think these highlights are going to make his career in the A-League much more difficult. The refs are going to watch him more now.
But again, I love that number 9. Now, we see Chris Woods. We had Matty Simon in the A-League a few years ago. And it has its space in modern football because it's so hard to handle. We see Harrison Sawyer as well, who's, in that box, that physicality, getting on the end of crosses and everything else. It's difficult, and it just provides something different that you have to worry about. So, you know what? He scored a couple of goals, but he needs this sort of dirty side of it. He needs to be careful because otherwise he'll be on the bench.
Well, shout out to our producers as well because I'm not sure if they intended to find out he should have been sent off. They did. Rashid, you played with some physical players in your time, but Bessa Parisha comes to mind as a physical striker. Just how does that filter down to the rest of the team when you've got a spearhead number 9 that's not afraid to throw themselves about? Yeah,
I mean, being physical in a calm way is like maybe a Bruce Jitte. So he can hold up the ball and he's difficult to deal with as a physical presence. But then also the aggression side, which is more sort of Bessa Parisha, like Tommy's saying, that adds another dynamic for the defenders to not really be able to relax. They can never really relax, and I think that's a good thing.
And also, it's a tone setter for a lot of teams. If you've got someone who chases, who harasses. Yeah. You know what? It's just great for the team. It draws it, and automatically everyone is on the front foot. So, and we'll see how he progresses, but he might not play for the.
Well, he's had a good start to the league. There's all types of physicality as well. Jake Girdwood-Reich, if you have a look at this one, I mean, this made a few of us tingle watching this before. Rashid, you've been in this situation before, but this is just unlucky. We're going to have to just roll this a little bit closer for everyone to see. But that is a post-shot kick to the genital spots there, Rashid. That's got to hurt, mate.
You do not. Yeah, I actually ended up in the emergency room once for one of these because it hurt. Normally it hurts for 5 minutes and then it goes away, and it progressively started to hurt worse. So I ended up going, I need to go to the hospital. Do you guys wear boxes as goalkeepers?
No, I know keepers that have worn it. I've never worn it myself, but maybe I should have on a couple of occasions.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, just watching that made me wince a few times. So our thoughts are out to Jake Girdwood-Reich. We hope everything is well at home, if you know what I mean there, sir. Western Sydney Wanderers and Perth Glory, they both finally got a notch on the belt with their first wins of the season. Perth Glory in particular were ones that had been focusing on in the first few weeks, just waiting for that squad to come together. They obviously went through the storm with David Zrilic getting sacked. Thomas, how important is this for their change room just to get an away win, one, but also just a win in general on the board?
Yeah, and you got to start somewhere. You get that change of manager. You're hoping for, a little bit of momentum. Tom Lawrence, we'll see, scores. He's sort of come in, and they're trying to find that formula. They've been weak at the back. Caltech hasn't probably provided that spark that they were hoping for. So again, wins can sort of rob that out. And that's, getting off the bottom of the table is a first. And again, I think this was a really important win.
Well, we're 5 rounds in.
Yeah, go on, mate.
They've just got their first win. Jake predicted that they'd win the league, just so everyone.
Maybe they're not quite there yet.
I said victory.
I may or may not have had a chat to Adam Taggart, who let me know Tom Lawrence is one to expect to light up the league, and he did. He got his first goal of the weekend. But Rashid, they had 38% possession, only 4 shots on goal as well, right? Perth Glory. So they might have got away here with something that obviously the contentious penalty decision that happened, which we obviously won't harbour on too long. But that was obviously a clear penalty, and they capitalised. I mean, just a smash and grab kind of win for Perth.
Yeah, and I think with where they're at the moment, they just need the points, right? So it doesn't really matter if it comes in dirty or if they don't dominate the game. It doesn't really matter. They just need the points. So they got that. What I found was interesting, which you mentioned, was that when Lawrence is taking the penalty, Tags doesn't take it, which makes me think, okay, this is...
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I don't know. I mean, knowing Tags, you'd probably be taking the next one, but it was a great penalty from Pennington. Western Sydney, Thomas, we've spoken about them as well, lacking that creative spark. They put 3 in the first half past Central Coast, but they did concede 2. All the goals happened in the first half. The importance for them, and I guess what you're seeing coming out of them now, have they turned that corner?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. They've got the derby coming up, and that'll be a big test. There's a few teams that's got big tests coming up, and I think for them, great to get some goals. Barbarousse is getting a couple, Crave, getting the first one. I think from that perspective, they look better, but it's worrying that they still concede 2 goals, and it was sort of still what should have been an easy win turns out to suddenly be, contentious, and they were sort of just scraping over the line. But, again, it's a long season, and next week, win the derby, you're right back in it.
And we haven't spoken too much about Central Coast in this show, and they might be coming up more and more because they are silently taking down teams throughout this competition. They are sitting just outside the top 5, which not a lot of people predicted, Rashid, including us.
Yeah, including us. Remains to be seen. I think just on Wanderers, for me, probably the team that's underperforming the most for me, based on their squad. I know you guys were critical of them having 16 defensive midfielders playing. But I think they've got some good quality. I think their spine's good, and especially with Costa Barbarouses now, I'd like to see him go on and become the main man and be involved in as many goals as possible. I think he can make a real difference in the league.
Well, like you, Costa Barbarouses also played for this man who won his 2nd consecutive Chinese Super League title. Kevin Muscat, congratulations to you on winning again in China. Obviously, a wonderful coach, Rashid, that's had success in the A-League, now having success in Asia again. I mean, you played under him, you experienced what he's like as a coach. What makes him so successful? What's made him so formidable, especially in a competition like in China?
I think he's a winner, to put it pretty simply. He's a rough guy. He's a polarising character, as we all know. For me, I think I really liked playing under him, and I think it's often easy to say you like a coach if they play you every week and you're their first pick in the starting 11. I wasn't for him, but I still liked him as a coach. So I think that's saying something for his quality.
Was he as fierce as a coach as he was on the field? Obviously, he had that intimidation factor as a player. Was he like that as a coach?
He does have the white line fever because, you know, if it's around the club, he's a very nice guy. But when you're on the training park, it's time to train, you know. And I think from my perspective, he really is a winner, and that informs a lot of the way that he speaks, a lot of the way that he acts. If he needs to be nice to you and talk to you with some level of compassion because he thinks that's going to be the best for you to get the best out of the game, he will do that as a strategy to get a win. So he does have that capability.
I would love to see him in Europe. I know there was talks about Glasgow Rangers and it was on and then it was off. You know, I think he's got the pedigree, exactly what you were saying. You know, he's got that winning mentality. I think players are willing to follow him because, again, he sets the tone. You know, he's got that passion for it. So, like, hopefully his next step now is, you know, he's done well in China, he's done well in Japan. Hopefully we'll see him somewhere in Europe.
Yeah, come on, Muskie, get to Europe.
Yeah, well, he's had 2 titles with Melbourne Victory, one with Yokohama F. Marinos in Japan, and obviously now 2 at Shanghai Port. So he's doing a wonderful job, as are Australian coaches around the world at the moment. Guys, it has been great to have the show back this week. Great to have you here, Rashid. Well done on your first hit out, mate.
Thank you for having me, guys.
No need to bring up my Perth Glory thing again. Thomas, as always, thank you for helping be
Always a pleasure.
part of the show. And Rashid, welcome back again. I'm sure we'll have you very soon.
Thanks, guys.
To all the A-League fans at home, we hope you enjoyed the A-League download presented by Isuzu Ute. I'm your host, Jake Barker-Daish. We'll see you next week.